Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Idea Gen Global Podcast with George Sifakis.
I'm George Sifakis. In a world overflowing with noise, there is one forum where the world's smartest voices connect, where visionaries sit at the same table as innovators, and great minds don't just talk, they act.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Thank you so much for listening. By the way, I wasn't able to properly thank Bob Nardelli for coming on the show. He is one of my heroes, and I hope you learned a lot from him. I certainly do, and I talk to him all the time. He just has his finger on the pulse of what's happening with the economy, and we're going to get him on again in the weeks ahead because there's nobody who really sees the direction of the economy better than Bob does. And so many thanks to him for coming on. Before we get to our next guest, I wanted to mention something that is one of the big stories of the week, which is that I know this is going to shock you all in the audience, but it turns out once again the climate change lobby, the prophets of apocalypse, lied to us again. I know you're probably going to fall off your chair. That never happens, right? But it turns out they completely lied about climate change. And this has been something I've been working on for 25 years, counteracting the doom and gloom end of the world movement that has been really trying to destroy the world economy and take us back to when we lived in caves without electricity. And so the latest study, you may have read about this in the New York Times or the New York Post or the Wall Street Journal. It was covered by Fox News. But in case you missed it, the major study over the last 10 years that frightened everybody in the world and became the rallying cry for the radical left green movement and for people like Joe Biden was a study that came out, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember the exact date of this, but it came out recently in recent years. And they predicted that trillions and trillions of dollars, multiple trillions of dollars would be lost from the world economy if we didn't stop using fossil fuels. And this was by the year 2100. And there was so much wrong. As soon as that study came out, I was all over it. And we talked about on the show when the study came out that it was a fraud, that nobody really knows what the temperature is going to be of the planet 70 years ago, what's going to happen with the economy 75 years from now. But this predicted it. And by the way, the end of the story is that they way overestimated. They had to retract the study. It was all phony baloney. It was all a big lie. Gee, what a shock that the climate change people would lie about what's going to happen with global temperature. So another reason to never trust these people. These are the people who say, oh, we have to follow the science. And then these are the people who make up the science. So stop lecturing us about being deniers and stop lecturing us about not following the settled science because nothing's settled here. Okay. I believe we have my friend. I'm so honored. Do we have Liz Truss with us, the great Prime Minister of England? Liz, thank you so much for joining. By the way, did you hear what I was just saying about the climate change study? They lied about it. They lied through their teeth.
They did. And it's killing the British economy. It's killing the European economy. You know, our industry has been decimated. For what? Absolutely nothing.
So, by the way, this is Liz Truss, who was the Prime Minister of the UK. She's become a good friend. She is a strong supply sider. She believes in free markets. She believes in freedom. She believes in limited government, all the things that we do in America. And Liz Truss, you are one of my heroes. I was so eager to talk to you because I'm worried about what's happening in England right now. We are in the United States looking over there. We don't understand why the British people have moved so far to the left. And I should say the British government has moved so far to the left on so many issues, abandoning free market economics, abandoning supply side economics. What is going on?
Well, I have just started my own show, Steve, the Liz Truss Show, and that is exactly what we're talking about on the show, is why are we in such a dire situation? Free speech has been cancelled. We've got massive problems with economic decline. We've got big problems with mass migration. And these are not things that the British public want. I mean, Keir Starmer is the most unpopular prime minister in British history. People are absolutely fed up with economic stagnation. They're fed up with the fact that we're losing our country. But there seems to be little that can be done about it. So what I am doing in the show is talking to the people who
By the way, sorry to interrupt you, Liz, but tell people what the Liz Truss Show is, where they can view it and hear about it, because this is an exciting new development.
It is a podcast. It's available on X. It's available on YouTube. It's available on Rumble. I'm also working with John Solomon of Just the News, so it's available on the Just the News network in the United States as well. And there'll be a weekly podcast, a weekly video cast coming out every Friday at 1 p.m. and then a further 2 audios a week if people want to hear more. So
it's called the Liz Truss. It's called the Liz Truss Show. Okay, got
and
it.
People can follow me on X, which is @TrussLiz on the great X platform to hear more about the show. So the reason I'm doing this is because we have a huge problem with the mainstream media in Britain. You'll be aware that President Trump is suing the BBC because they lied about him.
Yes.
But that's not the only thing they lie about. They've lied about climate change. They've lied about what's going on in Israel. They've lied about the economy. Frankly, there's been a whole period, decades of left-wing propaganda coming out of the BBC and the rest of the mainstream media. We also have a huge problem with our bureaucracy, our deep state in Britain. And a lot of the issues you're talking about, Steve, go back to the Tony Blair government, who put in place the Human Rights Act. They got rid of the accountability of the judiciary. They got rid of the accountability of the bureaucracy, including the central bank, the Bank of England. These organizations have become laws unto themselves, and they've been captured by leftist ideology. So what you're seeing now, the attacks on free speech, the economic decline, the mass migration, and the fact that governments are able to do so little about it, is the result of 30 years of bad policy that have suddenly come to boiling point. And the British frog has essentially been boiled. People didn't really realize what was happening. Now they're waking up, and we're hearing about the appalling grooming gang scandal where young girls have been hounded, tortured, sexually abused by Islamists, and a lot of these issues were swept under the carpet because you have a complicit bureaucracy, but also a mainstream media that simply doesn't want to report on it.
It's scary, actually. And we've been covering this in our hotline, and we get a lot of our material from you. By the way, I'm talking to Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister of the UK, and it's such a privilege to have you on, Prime Minister. So, I think Americans are confused. By the way, what you were just saying sounds a lot like, some of the things that happened under Joe Biden when he was president, but we had our correction.
And Obama.
Yes, and Obama, and the thing is that we've had our correction, and our correction is Donald Trump, and he is fixing things. But how optimistic are you that the Brits will see what's happening to their country? I mean, you mentioned the freedom of speech. I mean, you can't even criticize the government any longer there, which is a fundamental freedom of speech issue. Is there going to be a comeback of the freedom movement in Britain?
Well, the subtitle of my show is Home of the Counter-Revolution. So I certainly hope so and want that to happen. We know the British public are very angry. We know that they voted for Brexit in 2016 because they were fed up with the establishment.
Right.
They also voted for Boris Johnson again because they wanted change. The problem is the change wasn't delivered because the bureaucracy, the deep state, were so powerful. So the question is, can there be a vote, most likely in 2029, and a prime minister elected who's actually prepared to take on the deep state? And what does that mean? What it means is legislating to remove all those Blairite laws I was just talking about, the Human Rights Act, the Climate Change Act, the Equality Act that embedded DEI into law, but also changing the way the British government system works and actually appointing the top bureaucrats rather than allowing them to be supplied by the permanent civil service. I think that is the change we need in Britain to actually get proper accountability.
So, if we go back to the Reagan era here in the United States, Liz, and you know this, that, it was Margaret Thatcher, which really, her revolution in Britain came before we had the Reagan Revolution, and then we had the Reagan-Thatcher Revolution. We have a Trump revolution going on here. It is a free market revolution. How confident are you? We're very good friends with Nigel Farage, as you have. He is the head of the Reform Party in Britain, for those who don't follow British politics. What worries me is the Conservative Party, the party that you were part of, has moved to the left.
Well, that's absolutely right. And a similar thing actually happened to the Republicans in the United States.
Yes.
And Donald Trump and the MAGA movement essentially took over the Republican Party and made it a populist nationalist party. What's happened in Britain is you've really got the Bush Republicans who are in the Conservative Party, and then you've got the Trump tendency, which is elsewhere. And what needs to happen is these various forces need to assemble to become a fighting force to actually do what it takes to reverse the Blair revolution. And that is a massive ask. What I want to do on my show is expose what the problem is, and the fact that the problem is not just the occupant of number 10, however much we all don't like Keir Starmer. The problem is that the police have been infiltrated. The judiciary are now unaccountable. The Bank of England and the Treasury are now card-carrying Keynesians who believe in net zero and mass migration. You need to not just replace the Chancellor of the Exchequer, but you also need to replace the Governor of the Bank of England, the Permanent Secretary at the Treasury. There's a whole swathe of people who need to go, and these people have presided. This is why, even though you've had both Labour and Conservative governments, you haven't really seen the policy towards things like fracking change or tax change or human rights change, because it's those bureaucrats who have remained in charge throughout.
I'm talking to the great Liz Truss, who is the former Prime Minister of Britain. And by the way, you came against that evil empire which tried to destroy you.
Well, I already knew.
Yeah,
I already knew when I became Prime Minister, because I'd spent 10 years as a government minister in different government departments. I knew what the bureaucracy were like. I knew that they were, in favour of transgender ideology, that they were Keynesian economically, that they were anti-Israel. I knew all that stuff. When I was Prime Minister, though, and I was actively sabotaged by the Bank of England, I then understood the sheer power that they had, but also the fact that they were prepared to defy a democratically elected leader in order to preserve their own agenda and their own vested interest.
Well, they tried to, Liz Truss, do the same thing to Donald Trump. As you know, they tried to put him in prison. They raided his home in Mar-a-Lago. They had 9 indictments against him and tried to impeach him 4 times. He was able to survive the barrage that unfortunately you were not able to. We've only got a couple minutes left. I'd like to ask you, I've been predicting, and I'd just like your reaction to this. I think we're going to see a Trumpian revolution all over the world where people are sick of the bureaucracy.
Please, yes.
Yes. Okay, good. And is it coming to Britain?
Well, it's definitely what I want, but we're going to have to fight for it.
Fight for it, yeah.
And I know from my own battle just how tough, how well-funded the enemy are. That's the problem. But you know what? Funded. There are more of us than there are of them. There are more of us than there are of them, but the people on their side are people in the media, they're people in the big corporations, they're people in the bureaucracy who have a lot of levers of power. The people on our side are people like the farmers, the small businessmen, the people who live in towns and villages across Britain. They don't have the same power and voice. And, we look to America, we look to the MAGA movement for inspiration about how these people are taken on. And one of the things we want to do is develop the independent media to actually be able to galvanize and talk to people about what's happening in our country, hence why I'm setting up my show.
You know, I've been to Britain a number of times in recent years, and I ask people, just cab drivers and construction workers, people on the street, what do you think of Donald Trump? And people come and they'll say, oh, we need a Donald Trump here in Britain. So he seems to be popular with the working class. He is popular, but you'd never know that if you watch the BBC. Right, exactly. They spout a load of lies. And actually, a lot of media that's international, like the Financial Times and the BBC, they are the worst of the left-wing groupthink in Britain. Yeah, well, thankfully, we're going to have your show and hopefully a lot of others getting this message across. We need a freedom revolution. It started in the United States. It has to go to the UK and then around the rest of the world. And you're a key part of that, Liz Truss. And so it is the Liz Truss Show. You can find it on the internet. You can explain in our last 30 seconds how people can listen and watch your show. Well, they can watch it on X, they can watch it on YouTube, on Rumble. Okay. It's on the Just the News Network. It'll be available soon on Spotify. So all of the platforms will have it on. Fantastic. Well, thank you for everything you do for the freedom movement, Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister of Britain. And we will be right back, folks. This is The More Money Show.
Thanks for listening to More Money with Steve Moore. You can hear More Money with Steve Moore Saturday afternoons at 1. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder, what the heck is going on here?
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.